I'm having a bad day. Let's make it better by playing Klonoa.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Ignore file 1, please. Just ignore file 1. So, I'm going to warn everyone right now. This video solely exists so I could complain about the ending of Lost. But we will be talking about Klonoa as well, because Klonoa is worth talking about. But I'm having a bad day because I finished Lost. A thing I recommend nobody do. I recommend nobody watches Lost. I had a really good time until Season 5, and then it went downhill. And then Season 6 was a whole bunch of clusterfucks and what the fuck. And then, the ending destroyed my soul. So now I'm playing a game that makes me happy, and that's Klonoa for some reason.
Yeah, a game with a surprisingly melancholy story. This is a game Zach and I both have a strong appreciation for. I was introduced to it through the Nintendo Wii remake, which is a much easier version of this original PS1 game, but with beautiful remade graphics and new voice acting. And that's the version I personally fell in love with, but then I went back to play the PS1 version. I much preferred its more balanced and sometimes more difficult sections over the Wii version, kind of smoothing out all of the difficulty. And overall, I just fell in love with, like I said, the melancholy story, the wonderful characters, the great sleepy music, and obviously the great 2.5D sprites and backgrounds. It's easily one of my favorite, at least 2D platformers of all time.
I pretty much agree with what everything Brian said. Klonoa is also one of my favorite RPGs. Platformers. So used to talking about RPGs, but platformers. Klonoa's quite possibly in my top 5. I love this game. It's cute, it's fun, it's colorful, it's got a surprisingly really good story.
Yes.
Just an overall excellent game to play. We might talk about the ending. I will try not to go into too much detail, but since I feel like talking about the ending of Lost, I almost kind of feel like comparing it to Klonoa, because there's a weird connection between them in my brain. But yes, this game makes me happy, and now that I think about it, it's very rare for a Keeping Busy to be about a game both of us know. Although, to be fair, the point of Keeping Busy is we show each other games, but this one, I just want to be happy. I want to play a game that makes me happy. Don't worry, my bitching engine is revving up. I gotta get reaccustomed to the controls, and then I'll be ready. Don't worry, there will be no bitching about Klonoa. We do not tolerate Klonoa slander here. So the main idea with Klonoa is you have a wind bullet, you can use it to inflate the enemies, and then you can throw them, or you can use them as a double jump, or you can throw them into the foreground or background like this. Let me try that again. Are you serious?
Oh no, Zach.
I can do this, Brandon. Are you?
Nope.
There we go!
There we go.
I'm not having a good day today. Oh. I think you can... Ah, that's not the way.
Yeah, you can.
No, I know I can do... There we go. Oh, Klonoa can also glide for a little bit.
He basically just does the Yoshi flutter jump.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I never thought about it that way, but you're right. Okay, so I can't avoid it forever. I don't want to go into too much detail, because I don't want the entire video to be about it, because Klonoa is really worth talking about, but I promised it. I threatened it. The ending of Lost.
Yes, after long stretches of Zach being told by myself, my friends of friends and then friends of friends to not watch the old, well, not super old, but the early 2000s drama Lost. Zach did that and finally finished it.
There we go. Yeah, I didn't think I would regret it as hard as I do now. Because, you know, everyone tells me the same thing. It's the one thing everyone knows about Lost. Even if you've never seen the show, you know that it ends awfully. But I'm always one of those people. I make the same mistake every time. Every time I make the same mistake. How bad could it be? Maybe people are exaggerating. I, for some reason, have massive trust issues, I guess. And I just have a hard time believing sometimes. And I'm someone that also saw Season 8 of Game of Thrones after it finished. So I didn't see a single Game of Thrones episode until after the ending, and I heard everyone talk about how awful it was. My brain went, oh? So I watched the entire series, and yes, Season 8's awful. I would say Lost is more awful. Imagine getting close to a bunch of characters. Imagine these characters going through trials and tribulations on a mysterious island. Imagine mysteries and being invested in the plot. And then imagine all of that being thrown out because I guess it really just does feel like to me that the writers of Lost didn't know where they really wanted anything to go. At least that's my guess. Some of the things felt like they were done with a purpose, but I don't know, like, they bring up the smoke monster, and they reveal, you know, that thing that so many shows like to do after they go on for too long. Oh, I'm the smoke monster, and I was setting this up from the beginning. Even though the smoke monster was attempting to attack and murder the island inhabitants at the beginning. Now, I should mention that my watching of Lost was really disconnected. I would binge watch a couple of episodes and then stop for a couple weeks or even a month, and then I would binge watch it, and that was pretty much my schedule. For some reason, that's just how I watch things, and I've really got to learn to be more consistent. So there might be gaps in my memory, but just the ending was so unsatisfying. The one thing I knew going in is that it ends in a church, and Brandon and Alec were joking the entire time, it's gonna be purgatory. And they were kind of right, and they were kind of wrong. Honestly, I wish they were completely right, because it would have been better. I watched the entire series. I don't know what the island is. I don't. That's the thing that makes me the most mad. I don't know. The island is magic, and the island is light. There's a big thing of light in the middle of the island. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it does. It's apparently electromagnetic. I don't know. Ow. I'm just going to damage boost. Brandon, did you know that everybody dies? That's the message that Lost delivers. Everybody dies eventually. We're going to die. We have a very few amount of years on this earth. Years that I should not have spent watching Lost.
Yeah, what a great thing for it to what a great thing for it to instill in you and end on.
Yeah, the last thing we see of the island is the main character, the doctor named Jack. He dies after saving the island. For what reason? I don't know. I don't know what he has to save the island for. I don't know what the importance of the island is. It's just important. He becomes a protector of the island just to go and die, and then he volunteers to protect the island an episode or two before he dies, and then he gives it to someone else who clearly doesn't want it. Poor Hugo. Hugo got wrapped... That's what makes me so upset about Lost. Everyone gets wrapped up in so much bullshit, and then dies. And the show goes, well, yep, everybody dies. Bye. Am I being dumb? Where the fuck am I supposed to go? Oh, you know what? Can I drop down here? Yeah, I can. Oh, wait. Oh, no, that's a...
Yeah, you can.
Technically, I can. Oh.
And there is a lot of parts in this that even in the remaster were confusing me a bit, where it's like, oh, no, you have to go over here and then go over there. And then, or there's a part where you drop down to, and you'll see a part that looks like it goes off into the background, but really you have to go on another path to get there. Ah.
Yeah, like... Yeah, what they do with Hugo and Speed and... I guess... Jack just dies on the island to protect it, but... Like I said, the island's important. For what? I don't know. I don't know what the island is. It's just a place that exists, and for some reason it can travel between time and space. Season 5 is all about... We'll just overwrite this. Season 5 is all about the gang time traveling and they end up in the fucking 1970s or some shit. I don't remember. I don't care. I stopped caring. And then they set off a nuclear bomb down a well in Season 5. And then everybody goes back to the regular time. And, you know, at first I thought it was all about alternate timelines, but no. No, that would have been too simple. Because I kept telling Brennan and Alec for the longest time, it cannot be Purgatory. And I was almost right. We were both right. The island itself is not Purgatory, but what I thought were scenes of alternate timelines, it was all actually Purgatory, and Jack having to learn to let go, and everybody in Purgatory all gets along, and they all had nice lives, and... Nope, none of it was real, and they all had to meet up, and then they all have to go into the church and walk into the light, and then they're all dead. You know, what interested me in Lost was the Arkham City Joker rant, because apparently Mark Hamill was a big fan of Lost. So there's a moment, I think you're in a church in Arkham City as well, and Joker's talking to you about endings and closure and things like that. And then Joker at one point goes, and why does it end in a church? And I figured out that was Joker talking about Lost, so I was like, oh, if they added that random rant into Arkham City, then Lost must be kind of interesting. And then I finally one day got to watching it. And well, you know, Joker asked, why does it end in a church? And I can tell you why it ends in a church, to be fucking terrible.
You know, you would have thought Mark Hamill would have seen the signs. I mean, you know, when he signed up to be in the Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and the subsequent movies that came after that were also, they were directed, and the Force Awakens wasn't written by J.J. Abrams, but he did direct and write The Rise of Skywalker. So I feel like at some point or another, and I mean, of course, you know, Luke Skywalker was already dead by the time Rise came out, but after seeing, Zach was in the theater with me watching The Rise of Skywalker, that we both mutually were looking at each other wordlessly throughout that movie, realizing just how bafflingly mediocre and shit it was. Like, not even a way where it was a bad movie, just that it was blindingly middling. And Zach was like, oh, I'm gonna watch Lost, the show executive produced by J.J. Abrams, and it will definitely not suck.
I didn't say it wouldn't suck, because I knew the ending was going to be bad. If so many people talk about how bad the ending is, then, but like, I have such an insatiable curiosity that gets me into trouble constantly, and I go, why do I do this to myself? And Lost is finally the thing that's going to make me work on it. Lost is finally the moment where I just go like, you know what, I can't keep doing this.
And to be fair, I mean, it's a gigantic show with a massive development team. Like, it wasn't just, you can't just blame one person for anything. You know, there was a lot of people that worked on Lost, a lot of really good talent as well, which explains why it started off so strong.
Yeah, Paul Dini, one of the writers of Batman the Animated Series, he wrote some of the earlier episodes, I believe. Or at least, like, a couple of the Season 1 ones. Yeah, like, there was a point where Season 6 was so bad, I started to be like, was the entire show just bad? And I will give Season 6 one thing, it did remind me about how good Lost was through Seasons 1, 2, and 3, by constantly flashing back to them, and then making me go, I wish I was watching that instead.
What was it about the earlier seasons that made you really like the show?
Honestly, I would say the characters. The island mystery was really intriguing, and you know, some people might get annoyed by the entire concept of like fate in a show, all these different coincidences going on. But I thought Lost was using it in a very interesting way, and I really liked its use of flashbacks. How it felt like for seasons 1 through 3, the flashbacks were being used alongside. Like each episode would be kind of centered around a character or characters, and then they would have flashbacks to go along with them. And then you won't really know why they're flashing back to those things until near the end, where it actually gives context to a character's actions, and you go, oh, that's why character A is acting like that. One of my favorite uses of it, I don't entirely remember how it goes, but I think I can explain it well enough, is one of the characters is your typical, you know, asshole. He's your asshole scammer kind of guy. He lived as a con artist. And there's, but, you know, the show flirts around with the idea of him being that kind of asshole with a heart of gold. And you're seeing it throughout this one episode. The flashback is about him. Again, my memory might be a bit off. It's been a long time. But I believe it's about him trying to con this woman. And then he falls in love with her and decides to reveal that he was trying to con her. And then she asks him to teach him, her, how to be a con artist. So he does. He teaches her all of his tricks. And then this is all, I can't remember what the island plot was, but it was about him seemingly being a nicer guy. So you get this flashback of him being a nicer guy. And then both the island plot and the flashback plot both reveal, no, he's still an asshole. Because it ends with him taking, like, thousands, like, even hundreds of thousands of dollars away from her. He cons her out of hundreds of thousands at the end.
Wow, okay.
And it ends with him basically doing something similar to the people of the island. Where you think he's going to develop, and then no. He does obviously, that's part of his arc, you know, as you might expect. Is that he does become a better person over the course of the series.
Okay.
But yeah, another one where I think it worked out really well is John Locke. John Locke's one of my favorite characters, and they did him fucking dirty. But there's an episode where he's trying to show off to the rest of the people of the island that he's like capable. You know, he's a survivor.
Yeah.
And then it's also flashing back to him living his life as a paper pusher, and his life is boring and he doesn't like it. And he's struggling. I believe he's like struggling financially or something like that. Basically, his life before the island wasn't very good. And then it reveals at the end of that episode that he's in a wheelchair. Like, the end of the flashback is him being in a wheelchair, and he went to Australia to go be part of a outback retreat, I think it's called. That basically surviving in the wilds of Australia. But they wouldn't let him go because of his wheelchair. And so that gives you more context into his personality, why he's trying so hard to seem capable to the rest of the group, why he's trying so hard to hunt a boar. And I really liked how it would write. I really liked how Lost would write its characters and give you more context through flashbacks that you aren't sure of the purpose of until much later. And I thought it was a really clever way to write. Because I usually get so annoyed by flashbacks thanks to Naruto. Naruto made me hate flashbacks. So many.
How much would you say does Lost, would you say, was it a show that ever really had filler, or was it always like a story where every episode was progressing something?
That's tricky. I feel like you could probably make the argument there are a couple of filler episodes, but I would say even in Season 5 and 6, Season 5 I would argue is kind of mostly filler. Just because it takes place in the past, and so therefore you kind of already know how it's all going to occur. Because like the show explains this is what happened in the past, and you know it can't change differently because the way time travel works in Lost is that what's done is done. You can't change it, which I think is supposed to go with Lost's whole theme, but I don't feel like going into that. But no, I would argue Lost, at least in my opinion, didn't have a whole lot of filler, or if it did, the filler was interesting. There was only kind of one episode I could argue was filler, but it still ended up being important in the end. And that's one that was focused on these two random plane passengers that the show kind of started to, like, there were these two background characters and they started getting a little bit more screen presence, and then they got an episode all about them where it showed they were also con artists. They would con celebrities, except unlike Sawyer didn't really kill anybody. He would just trick them out of a whole bunch of money. These people would have the female, like they were a couple, a man and a woman. The woman would get close to, I believe, actors, or at the very least very rich people, and then she would basically poison them and kill them. And then her and I believe husband, or at least boyfriend, would then steal everything in their house. And so that episode's all about them getting bit by a spider and being paralyzed for, I think, 8 hours. And so everybody on the island thinks they're dead because the spider bite paralyzes them, slows down their heart rate so much that there's barely a pulse.
Wow, okay.
And then the episode ends with them being buried alive, and the paralysis ends right as the people on the island are starting to cover them in sand. So they are buried alive and they die. Which was a fucking horrifying and scary ending. That was really dark for Lost.
Damn. Man.
And, like, the thing is, I don't even know if there was a point to all that darkness. It kind of comes back because one character that can read the minds of the dead, he digs up their bodies and steals the diamonds they were hiding.
Oh, man.
And he's like, hey, man, I haven't made.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Characters have, like, random psychic abilities. Hugo is able to talk to the dead whenever they feel like talking to him. Miles can... he can read the minds of the dead, like, read their final thoughts, which is how he finds the diamonds, and, you know, he pretty much becomes a medium, and that's how he makes his money, before ending up on the island. And he ends up being recruited to go to the island because he can read the minds of the dead. Where did he get that power from? I don't know. I guess it's because his dad was working on the island. Working on what? I don't know. Time travel, I guess. Maybe. I would assume. Why is the island capable of time traveling? I don't know. There's a light. It's Kingdom Hearts.
I don't know. The Kingdom Hearts thing made more sense to me.
It does. No, Lost just has a bunch of interesting mysteries, and I kind of gave up on the mystery because I knew Lost was just going to not really give me any answers, but I expected at least bad answers. I didn't even get that. I think that's why I consider it worse than Game of Thrones Season 8. Season 8 gives you closure, as awful as all of it is. Whereas Lost just ends and goes like, yeah, everybody dies. Bye. I think that's most of my bitching, at least for right now.
Well, I imagine it's not so much the fact that you were burned by the bad ending as that you were burned by the bad ending of a show that you were actually really enjoying for a good portion of it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's why I was so ready to cry at the ending. Because I felt so bad for these characters. Because I wouldn't say I felt like the characters were written horribly at the end. You know, maybe somebody will be like, oh, this character acted out of character here or there. And I'm sure that's definitely a thing. I didn't notice it, though. But for me, everyone felt like they were still the same character. Which I would say is a benefit from Game of Thrones Season 8, where characters would just do things and I'd be like, what? Why? But no, just, it just really... Oh, I didn't get the key. It just really saddens me how the show just ends with all these characters that I like dead. And I'm just supposed to accept that.
Maybe that was the point on some level, is that, you know, just like in real life, you can't escape it eventually, and it all comes to an end, and sometimes it doesn't feel right, sometimes it feels sudden. And maybe that was what the writers of the show in that moment were going for, but at the end of the day, that isn't a satisfying ending to a TV show, especially one that you've invested 6 seasons of investment in, just for them to pull a cheap trick of, well, see, death happens to us all. And it's like, well, yeah, but does that really tie into what the show is about?
I'm not even sure how well it ties into the show, but yeah, I've had a similar thought where the closest I can get to, if I wanted to be really generous, which normally I try to be, but with how mad I was at Lost, I don't feel like being generous. I don't feel like trying to guess, but I guess for video content I will try to guess. Yeah, I feel like Lost is supposed to be about life has a lot of struggle and a lot of pain, and you'll feel sad and, you know, you'll feel lost at times.
Right.
But the idea is to, you know, damn it, the idea is to move on, to keep going forward. You know, like, your struggles define who you are as a person. Which that wouldn't even really be bad, but I feel like the ending does a horrible job of it, because everyone's just sad and then they die. I feel like no one gets anything out of it.
Because part of the point of experiencing pain is the joy on the other side of it.
Yeah, and I think that's what the church scene is supposed to be, like, now these characters can finally go to heaven, and I'm like, no, hang on. I want them to enjoy life as well. I want to see them enjoy life. One character is stuck on the island in the 1970s or whatever for 3 years. You know, when everyone else gets to get off the island for a little bit, he stays because he gets left behind. He basically sacrificed his ability to get off the island. And now when we finally do get to see him leave on the plane to go home, that's it. Like, it's said by the main character's father, who I guess you could say is kind of the beginning of the whole story, that he says, oh, some of these people lived for a long time before they arrived here. Which, I mean, that's cool, but I didn't know what kind of life they lived. Just feels massively disappointing to just be like, oh, don't worry, they lived for a little bit, but... Shit! I got stuck under the leaf.
Yeah, this is one of those games. This is one of those games where dying takes off a life immediately instead of, like, just taking off some health.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, oh my gosh, John Locke is done so dirty. He gets murdered. Well, he was going to commit suicide, and then I'm just going to call him Ben. Brandon doesn't know who Ben is, and I'm going to be honest, it's all way too complicated to explain. If you know who Ben is, you know who Ben is. Let's just say, for now, to keep it simple, Ben is a very important person on the island. He's kind of the main antagonist for Season 2 and, I believe, Season 3. He's kind of the one fucking with everybody for a long time, and you never really know if you can ever trust him or not. So Ben goes to see John Locke, and John's about to hang himself. And then Ben tells him, no, don't do it. And then John Locke and him have a talk, and John feels better, and he's about to leave, and then Ben chokes him to death.
Oh.
And then, yeah. It's fucking horrifying. But no, like, John's told if he wants to get everyone that left the island back to the island, he has to die, because he has to take the place of Jack's father in the coffin, because they need to recreate the original plane crash as close as possible.
Okay.
And so the person that needs to be in the coffin has to be a man that Jack respects, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So John gets fucking murdered. And then you think he's back to life, but honestly, I guess this twist. I wouldn't say immediately, but near the end, before they reveal it, I kind of started to guess it. John comes back to life. And Ben acts like, oh, you know, I brought you back, I killed you because I knew the island would bring you back to life. And then when he's talking to someone else secretly, he goes, no, I have no idea how he came back to life. The island didn't do this. I've never seen the island resurrect somebody before.
Uh-huh.
So it turns out that that wasn't John Locke, that was the smoke monster pretending to be him. How's the smoke monster shapeshifted into people? I don't know. He shapeshifted into Jack's dad to show him a place.
And like Zach, the smokes monster stuff especially just gives off the vibe of they had no idea what the hell that thing was when they were writing it at the beginning of the show. They said, we'll figure out what the smoke monster is later. And then when they finally came up with the answer, yeah, of course it doesn't like make any sense because they didn't put enough thought into it.
I don't know, like, I don't know how much I really believe that. Some of it makes me think they kind of had it planned from the beginning, but I don't know, maybe they were just pulling something out of their ass, because there's a moment where Jack sees a ghost of his dad, and that takes him to... they need a better place to hide, because I believe they were attacked by the others, if this was... I can't remember if this was before or after the others, but they needed a better place to live, and the ghost of Jack's father shows up and shows him this... I wouldn't exactly call it a paradise, but let's call it a paradise for the sake of simplicity. Shows them these caves, this paradise, where they can live for a bit on the island. It has fresh running water. And they find these two corpses. And then we don't know what those corpses are for the longest time. I believe this was introduced back in Season 1. Actually, yeah, it should be Season 1. And then it's not until Season 6, near the end, where they finally explain those corpses. And I go, cool, kind of way too late for that, because I really don't care, and I completely forgot they even existed in the first place. But no, it turned out the two corpses were... Well, the one corpse doesn't even make sense to me. I don't know how it works. And, like, not that it matters, nothing makes sense, nothing matters. But, one of the corpses are of... fucking Jacob. Jacob's fake mommy.
Zach, forward, then back. Forward, then back. No, see, you have to go on top of that thing above, then go left. Yeah, anyway.
So there's Jacob, and he's important. And his name was kind of brought up a couple of times in the season, but no one really knew who he was for the longest time. He had a cabin. He was really hard to find. That's about kind of all we knew about him. But he was also the true leader of the others. He was the person that Ben was supposed to answer to, except Ben had never met him.
Uh-huh.
There's a man named Jacob.
Okay.
Jingleheimer Schmidt. No. There's a man named Jacob, and he had a twin brother, and he had a mommy, and then his mommy was killed. And he was raised by a different mommy who was the protector of the island. And then he had to be the protector of the island. And then his twin wanted to live with these people. And it's just, I should probably explain all this for context, but it's honestly all way too much to explain and probably pretty boring. So I don't feel like ranting on it too much. Just know, Jacob is the most important person in the island. He's a protector until he dies. His twin brother and his fake mommy are the corpses.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the corpses they find in Season 1.
Okay.
And we don't find this out until Season 6. That's how I know this show was, like, fucking with me for the longest time. Because they really just didn't want to answer things, and it started to get annoying. And that's kind of why, at some point, I just stopped caring about anything. Oh, I'm so good. I can't believe I did that.
Damn, yeah, that was actually impressive. Yeah, Zach, the more you talk about it, the more you sound like a QAnon conspiracy theorist, just being like, the corpses, but they were actually Mommy and Jacob, and they...
No, like, Jacob had a twin brother. And it turned out the twin brother's the smoke monster, except maybe not, because the twin brother is one of the corpses they find way at the beginning of the show. So how is he also the smoke monster? Is it his ghost? Is it his ghost? Is it an entirely different thing? I don't know. But it exists, but he has a dead body. I don't...
It's okay. It's okay, Grandpa. It's okay. We'll get you the tapioca pudding. All right. You'll be all right.
No, you don't understand. They rigged the election. Now that I think about it, trying to explain Lost really does make me sound like a crazy person. Especially when I can't even give extra context, because there's some things where I would want to give extra context that I can't, because it's not explained. There's a light in the middle of the island. What is it? I don't know what the light is. It's a thing that exists. There's a man who is resistant to electromagnetic waves, who can see the future. I really do sound like a conspiracy theorist.
You sound like a psychopath.
No, there's a man who's resistant to electromagnetic waves.
Okay, Zach, I'm sure he is.
And, like, he was the failsafe. I don't... Like, he can go into the light and not die, I guess. The light is waves, is magnetism, is the thing that attracts the metal. So he goes into the light and he pulls out a thing, and then it makes the island shake and start being destroyed, and then but because he pulled out the thing, there's no more light, which means they can hurt the smoke monster because he was bulletproof, but now he's no longer bulletproof. So he just, him and Jack get into an epic fight, and it feels like the show wants to be like, oh, it's finally, here's, like, John Locke and Jack had a rivalry. It feels like I can't explain one thing without explaining 30 other things, but I swear I'll eventually stop. This ride will eventually end. Jack and John basically...
Someone help!
This is a representation of Brandon. Brandon is currently trapped in the cage listening to me talk about Lost. So yeah, anyway, there's this moment, like, Jack and John, they were both rivals,
Get me out! Please, Jesus Christ!
That's not about. Yeah, Jack and John were rivals. John was pretty much a spiritualist. I'm just going to use that word because I don't feel like thinking of better words. He was kind of the spiritual one. He was more spiritually connected to the island, and Jack just wanted to get off the island.
Uh-huh.
And John had a connection to the island. The island would give him the visions, and at one point, when John started to lose his faith in the island, Echo, he was an African drug lord that, oh my god, Echo's backstory is too much to explain. Echo's African. That's all I'm going to explain for now. He was an African drug lord, but he found Jesus. So he became a Jesus man, and he has a stick that he wrote some Bible verses on.
Okay.
But yeah, Echo is killed by the smoke monster. For what? I guess, like, because, like, the smoke monster seems to have wanted to help John Locke, because the smoke monster grabs John, is about to pull him into a cave, and John goes, no, I trust the smoke monster, but they pull him out anyway because they don't trust the smoke monster. But then when the smoke monster talks about John, he talks about John as if he was completely worthless. Like, he goes, oh, John wasn't special. And it's like, but then why did the island why did the island try to show him so many things? Is it because of Jacob? Was Jacob really behind everything? Or is it the island? Does the island have its own will? Is it Jacob's will? Or is it the smoke monster's will all along? Because the smoke monster wants to kill Jacob. But the smoke... You see, the fake mommy put a curse on Jacob, and... You see, I keep calling him the smoke monster because he doesn't have a name. Because the real mommy only named the first kid, which was Jacob, but she didn't know she was going to have twins. So she never named the other kid, so I guess the other kid just doesn't get a fucking name. So we're just going to call him the smoke monster. The smoke monster wants to kill Jacob, but the curse from the fake mommy prevents them from being able to kill each other. So he has to get Ben to do it, and the reason Ben does it is because he's mad at Jacob for never showing himself to him specifically. Although now that I think about it, I don't know. Now that I think about it, I don't know how Jacob can only show himself, like, because Jacob has powers, but they're never explained, and he just sort of does whatever the plot needs him to do in that moment, I presume. Brent, I have a headache talking about this. I don't know how you feel. I at least know what I'm talking about, mostly. I can't imagine what you're going through.
I'm just hearing a lot of words.
There is definitely a lot of words going on. I can't deny that. Oh shoot, it was too high up.
Yeah, you have to time it when she's kind of pointing in your direction or when she has her head up. I never even thought about throwing the guy into the background at her. I probably should have tried that in the remaster. I only hit her when she would like do her attack by jumping, over the platform you're on. Klonoa 2. Klonoa 2 is a game. I also like that game. Klonoa 2. Klonoa 2 is definitely easier than the original, and it. There's definitely aspects of its story I don't really care for. Klonoa 2 gets a lot more, for lack of a better term, anime. There's literally a scene where a character goes, "You pervert." So
of course.
I didn't like any of that stuff, but it once again has an interesting melancholy twist to it, and I do like some of the climax. It's still worth playing if you like Klonoa, of course. And then, of course, there's the Game Boy Advance games, which even I haven't really got to play that much, but I've heard pretty good things about them.
I keep forgetting there are Game Boy Advance games. I should give those a try sometime.
Yep, yeah, they're worth a shot. I played a little bit of the first one, which was called Empire of Dreams, and that one also has him teaming up with his little bubble buddy here. Which, considering the ending of this game, I don't know how that makes any sense, but whatever.
Yeah, let's just say for both Lost and Klonoa, it's kind of about... they're both kind of melancholic. How would I explain Klonoa's ending without giving too much away? Well, let's just say they're both melancholic and they're both kind of about needing to leave, let's say.
Right.
Except Klonoa, this PS1 children's mascot or platformer, does that a million times better.
Yeah, it really does. I like this story a lot. It's at times wholesome and sweet and cool, but then when it gets melancholy, it gets really down. But in a way that feels good at the same time. Like it gives the world a lot more nuance.
Yeah, and I think that's what Lost wanted, but it just couldn't get it because it just, to me at least, well, I shouldn't say just to me. It's not like I'm the only one who thinks this ending is terrible. To me, it feels like it just massacres the characters at the end. Not so much by making them so out of character that they don't feel like the characters anymore, but just trivializes everything they were doing.
Right. Yeah, gives them a shitty ending when you cared about them so much.
Yeah. And so many characters in Lost just end up dead, and the other characters have to move on. But for those characters, like, people die. I'm fine with people dying in shows, obviously. It's the raised drama and all that, but after seeing the ending of Lost, I'm just like, oh, so a lot of these characters went to this island and died for practically nothing. Because what is the island? How do you have 6 seasons of a show that take place on an island, and then I am here complaining and asking people, what is the island? What is it?
Hey, it's a show with 6 seasons you should watch.
What's a show with 6 seasons I should watch, Brandon?
Well, not you, Zach, but specifically the person listening. You should watch this show called Community. That is 6 seasons.
Oh my fucking god, how did I not think of that? That one also does have 6 seasons.
And even though, it has 6 seasons, you can sort of compare, how the quality dips or goes up and down overall, but I would say, especially in terms of shows like Lost or X-Files and other shows that went on a long time, I would say, by comparison, Community's pretty solid among all of its seasons. There's some bad episodes, but...
Even considering Season 4 of Community, I would say I'd rather watch Season 4 of Community than Season 5 or 6 of Lost.
Oh, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to argue with you on that.
And Season 6, the finale of Community, is so good. I know we're getting a movie, and I'm happy about that, but even if we never did get that movie, I would have honestly been happy with Community's ending.
Yeah, makes me hope the movie's good, but I assume it will be, if Dan's writing it.
I'm hoping so.
He's probably had it in the back of his head for years. So So when do you want to cap off, Zach, after this level?
Yeah, sure, that sounds pretty good. I've said everything I need to say, I think. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to add anything to the end of that. I think I should just end it there for not just Brandon's sake, but my own, too. I feel like I'm doing something dumb.
It just went up without you.
Oh, I forgot how slippery Klonoa is.
Yeah, he does have some momentum to him, which I will say that's the thing that he doesn't have as much of in the remaster, from what I remember. There's something that feels off compared to how he controls in the original. There's a lot of distinct presentation details in the remaster that let you know that it's based off the Wii version and not the PS1 version. Like, for example, when you pick up a key in this game, it makes a little, like, graphic in the top right of the screen going like, hey, look, there's the key you got. In the remaster, which is also in the Wii version, when you pick up a key, Klonoa carries it on his back.
Oh, okay.
Which I like. It's a neat little detail. Now, you have to ride the thing into the center, Zach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I was just playing this level like yesterday. In the remaster anyway, but yeah, it's the same level design. There you go, yeah, that guy spawns and then you can pop the egg and get the key. And that's the thing that trips a lot of people up when they're playing Klonoa, is that they don't think about, oh yeah, I'm supposed to go into the background or out into the foreground or jump on that platform, which will switch me to that perspective, because that's a lot of the kind of twisty gameplay that makes it unique.
I do like Klonoa's use of foreground and background. I really like being able to pick up enemies and throw them in multiple directions, and I really like using an enemy to double jump. That just feels naturally so satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what to do. As soon as the enemy respawns.
If they do, sometimes they don't.
Shoot.
Oh. Now don't press the jump button twice. Oh.
Hang on, I wasn't sure if I could...
Maybe you can.
Yeah, I don't think I can make that while holding an enemy.
Ah, man. Ah, well. So you won't get that villager. I forget what it does if you get all of them, if it really does anything at all. I think... Don't you have to get, like, a certain amount of them in order to fully beat the game or something? I forget.
I don't believe so. I don't remember ever having to do that.
Okay.
Maybe it gets you a better ending, but I don't think I needed to get certain villagers in order to beat the game now.
If there's any disappointment I have with Klonoa 2 is that it doesn't really carry on anything too much from this story. It's just Klonoa is in a new place with a completely new set of characters. He doesn't even remember the characters from the place he was originally at, and you just have fun with those new characters. But still, there's some really fun levels in Klonoa 2. There's like a carnival-themed one. There's like a fun house. There's like big circus tents you jump around in. And there's definitely a lot more like set pieces and stuff in Klonoa 2.
Yeah, I do need to give some of the other Klonoa games a try. I really hope Klonoa does get more games.
Maybe one day if they sell enough, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I feel like he's just niche enough that it just doesn't make enough money for big corporations to want to make another one of these.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes that is okay, though.
It's just a shame in a land where, especially back in those days, there was just so many of these let's make a furry platformer game, that we had this one which truly felt intentioned, because this was like, yeah, this was getting like into the PS1 era when that whole craze of everybody needed a mascot and they had to look like Sonic was starting to finally die down. Where Klonoa feels just very intentioned. It just feels like a game that wanted to be made, and it just has a heart to it. And even if that wasn't really the intention, maybe if it was something more cynical in terms of trying to make the Namco platformer, this is still I mean, you think of the other PS1 platformers that Namco put out and like, oh my god, I'd play this over like Pac-Man World any day of the week.
Oh yeah, I'm sure some people will think that's a hot take, but no, I much prefer this over Pac-Man World.
I understand the nostalgia for Pac-Man World, and I played a bit of it as a kid, but compared to Klonoa, it's so bland. And I like the nod of Klonoa having Pac-Man on his hat, but I think that's as far as you need to go for making a Pac-Man platformer. Though I have heard that Pac-Man World 2 and 3 are better games. Or at least 2. I know 3 is kind of a black sheep, because it's kind of weird. But I want to get to those one day. But in truth, I'd rather just play the Klonoa games again. I really like the music in Klonoa as well.
Oh yeah, it's a very good soundtrack.
It's like it's like the type of music you can just like zone out to. It's very chill, but it also conveys like the mystery and the strange like wild atmosphere of like this forest level or any of the levels in the game. It all fits. But then like when big emotional moments in the story happens, the music perfectly creates that kind of emotional twinge you need for that scene.
Yeah, that's pretty much why I picked this game for this, because I was just like, what do I play to just be happy and just have fun? And I was like, Klonoa.
I'm also noticing little bits of personality that I don't remember really being in the remaster that much. Like when you died, it had like this animation where Klonoa held up like a white surrender flag and waved it. And like fell over. And in the remake, all I remember is that he just like gets hit. The camera, the big cartoon circle zoom out, zoom in thing shows up, and then that's about it. And I guess that's faster. Like I notice here, they actually have extra loading screens when you're going to a boss fight, where it will show Klonoa riding towards like going into the background to go up towards this like lit door, or riding the fish lady into the boss arena. And those aren't in the remaster because those are only in this game because they're using it to mask the PS1 loading screens, and they don't need to do that in the remaster. I like segments like this too. I like the balance of using the 2.5D stuff here. I also really like how the music flows with how this thing runs.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that until you brought it up.
I'm surprised I'm surprised because that's part of what makes it appealing to me is just how they have this music track that's clearly designed to be synced to how that ride runs, which must have taken a lot of work.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm focusing entirely on the gameplay right now. For some reason, I can't focus on both the soundtrack and the video game at the same time.
Which is insane to me, or whatever.
It's just a thing. I can't multitask like that.
Yeah. Klonoa 2 has a good soundtrack as well.
Is this one gonna move, or is it gonna move after I step off, just to make me look dumb?
Jump on it. Okay. Yeah, that's all you needed to do.
Ah, there we go.
Wow, this level's going on longer than I thought.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to stop at some point.
We're looking at 55 minutes.
I was about to say, I just noticed how long this has been going on.
Yeah.
Wasn't supposed to, but... Lost will do that to you, I guess. Lost just makes you lose track of time.
Yep. And that will make your platform move. No, to the right. There you go.
Oh, okay.
It's this kind of thing that makes me hope that like Sega does like a remaster or a re-release of like Rystar one day. But the only way they really do Rystar is like the Nintendo Switch Online library, the Genesis library, has Rystar in it, which is nice, but I'd rather them give him like a better remaster with like extras and stuff. That's another really underrated platformer.
Yeah, I think I played a little bit of Rystar, because I think my cousin has a Sega collection that had Rystar on it.
It's definitely tougher than Klonoa, so I've had trouble getting to the end of it.
Oh yeah, I do remember that one giving me some trouble too.
I've beaten the Game Gear version of Rystar, but not the Genesis version. And the only real difference is that the Game Gear version of Rystar has a completely different level for one of its sections.
Look at how cute this game is.
And you still got a boss fight to do.
Should we? You say there's a boss fight coming up?
Yep.
Yeah, we should probably just do it.
Oh, wait, no. It's just 3-1, so not yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we should probably just end it here then, because I've been going on too long.
We have to do the level inside the tree first, and then the boss fight's in there. But, yeah. Anyway,
if you made it this far...
I don't know how the hell you did, but congratulations!
You survived! Brandon and I will clap for you. Congratulations. Man, even the ending of Neon Genesis Evangelion is better than Lost. Which I don't know how many people compare those two, but...
I mean, I'm someone that likes that ending, like, genuinely, so of course I would think it's probably better than Lost.
But yeah, let's just hope the ending to this video was better than the ending of Lost, huh?
Yeah, I thought it was alright.
Yes, thank you for watching this the whole way through. And we'll see you in the next Keeping BZ, which will not be Lost related at all.